Afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining the plumbing and heating webinar, Qualification Wales webinar. The webinar will be recorded, and the webinar will be available later on today for download. And also there'll be a survey sent out to you as well about the webinar. The mics will be muted until the end, but there is opportunity to ask questions as we go along in the questions tab on the right hand side. If you want to type any questions in there, Graham Hyatt will be able to answer some of the questions as we get to the end of each section, and then we'll have a wrap up with questions right at the end where we'll unmute all the mics so you can ask questions verbally if you need to. Okay, so today's agenda then is why the transformation from the existing quals to the Qualification Wales new suite of qualifications, the level 3 qualification content, the structure of units, the summary of assessments, and the employer confirmation guide, learning resources that are available, next steps for yourself, and then finally any questions and answers from ourselves. So the people on the team today, that's myself, Mark Jones on the left. I'm the EQA manager for the building services EQA staff. There we've got Graham Hyatt, who's the plumbing and heating EQA and heating and vent. And then we've got Andrew Beresford, who's the BSc plumbing and heating EQA as well. So they're the three members of the AL staff on the call today. Okay, then why the transformation? So there was a sector review construction and the built environment. The sector review provided context for change for large and small employers, centres and associations. Things that were outlined in the findings were inconsistent assessment practice. Some areas of learning were not effectively assessed. Learners need to deal with range of tasks and problem solve. Wasn't meeting the skills needs of Wales, and we needed to reduce complexity of the systems of 400 plus qualifications. Need to improve coherence with clear pathways for learners and centres. Progression routes clear through framework and onto work or HE. Portability within Wales and beyond. So the qualification framework, what we'll be focused on today is a level 3 building services engineering qualification, obviously for plumbing and heating. But as you can see on the screen there, at the bottom there, we've got the GCSEs in built environment. Then we go up to AS and A levels in the built environment. And then we've got the foundation, construction and building services engineering qualification on the left-hand side. The core and construction and building services engineering, and then the progression in construction. And also the progression in building services engineering. So they're all level 2. And then the level 3, we've got the construction section, which City and Guilds provide, and EAL provide the level 3 building services. So the learner journeys commencing in September 2022. As you can see there, starting in September, we've got foundations, the broad level 1, core and apprenticeship, the new apprenticeship qualification starting there. As we progress into 23, 24 and 25, you see the duration of potential routes into this Qualification Wales suite of qualifications. So you may have some questions. Obviously, hopefully we'll be able to answer some as we move along. That's why I like to leave the questions until the end. But if you do have any burning questions as we go through, please type them in the questions box at the right hand side. So what does the qualification cover? So the level 3 qualification in building services engineering, learners will develop their knowledge, skills and understanding in building services engineering trade contained in the National Occupational Standards. Learners will complete 2 core units covering their relevant sector and practice in the sector within Wales. What was the qualification for? It is aimed at learners aged 16 plus, currently working in building services engineering industry. Learners who have either passed the level 2 foundation in construction and built environment qualification, or will be completing their core foundation qualification, learning and assessments while in their apprenticeship. Learners who have completed the level 2 progression in building services engineering qualification. So that's who the level 3 qualifications for. In this case, it's a plumbing and heating qualification that we're talking about today. What will be the mode of attendance? It's designed to be on a part-time basis within the apprenticeship. Before the assessments, learners must first demonstrate their performance and capability to the satisfaction of their employer. What will the qualification lead to? On completion, the qualification will provide learners with the skills and knowledge required for the learner to be capable of working the chosen trade area across the UK. So level 3 plumbing and heating qualification then. So as you can see, highlighted in red on the right hand side, we're looking at the level 3 building services engineering. In this case, it's the plumbing and heating qualification. There's also heating and ventilation craftsperson, an installation, and then we've got the electrical installation as well. Looking at the left hand side, we've got the foundation and core, which are run by City and Guilds. And as you can see through there, there's the sort of construction trades. We've also got plumbing and heating and ventilation and the electro-technical systems. And then the pre-foundation level 1, City and Guilds, construction skills, plumbing and electrical qualifications. Then we've got the progression in building services engineering. So we've got plumbing and heating. Within that, we've got electro-technical systems and electrical equipment. So the focus today is on the plumbing and heating level 3. So the rule of combination then for the plumbing and heating level 3. So to achieve the EL building services level 3, plumbing and heating, learners must undertake all units listed below, achieving a pass, grade or higher in the 3 assessment methods, totaling 960 guided learning hours, detailed on the next slide. So the EL building services level 3 in plumbing and heating has got 7 core units, 301 to 304, and then 312 to 314 are the common core units. That's across all the building services level 3 quals. And then we've got 14 trade specific units relating to plumbing and heating. They're all forms of assessment. The 3 types of assessment we've got will be shown on the next slide. The employer confirmation must have been completed prior to commencement of the professional discussion. That's a key factor. Learner must have completed the practical project assessment prior to undertaking the professional discussion assessment. So these slides will be available to download and digest, in your own time. But some key things you need to sort of focus on: download the qualification manuals, the assessment packs, the employer guides, confirmation guides, from the Skills for Wales website. So the assessment type and the TQT and the guided learning hours for this qualification. TQT is 1400, which carries 140 credits, and the total guided learning hours is 960 for this qualification. This qualification is assessed by the following methods. So we've got an on-screen assessment, test 1 and 2, which are externally set and externally marked, which carry 20% of the weighting of the qualification. We've got a practical project, which is internally set, externally verified, and internally marked, which carries the multitude of the weighting, which is 60%. And then we've got the professional discussion, which is externally set, verified, and marked. That carries 20%. So the common core units for the BSc qualifications, as you can see, are listed there. 301 down to 304, and then 312 to 314. So they're all common across all the BSc qualifications at level 3. And then it breaks down into the sort of guided learning hours and the specific trade areas. So for plumbing and heating, there's 7 core units, 14 trade units, and total of 960 guided learning hours. And then you can see the other trades detailed below of their guided learning hours as well for reference. So the unit structure then. So in the qualification manual and the assessment packs, these will be familiar areas if you've already read those. So you've got the learning outcomes, which groups together chunks of related practical skills and knowledge and are presented as a result of the learning process, i.e. what the learner must understand or be able to follow teaching and learning. All learning outcomes are supported by a number of assessment criteria. Assessment criteria break down the learning outcomes into smaller areas to be covered. These criteria are what will be assessed in connection with the learning outcomes. The range contains information about the breadth required for a specific assessment criterion. For example, the actual reasons for stacking and storing materials. The range is not an exhaustive list. There may be other examples that could fit within the topic area. All elements listed in the range must be covered as part of the delivery of the unit. So the structure of the unit, it'll have a unit number and title. In this example, it's Unit 301. And then you'll have the guided learning hours underneath with a brief description. What is the unit about? And then following on underneath that, it will detail the learning outcomes for this particular unit. So under learning outcomes, it'll have a number and a title and the criteria and range to cover. And the range, in this case, states geographical influence, local need and source of materials. And the outcome, delivery outcome, details the sort of delivery outcomes there. Learners will need to know the trade bodies and organisations relevant to the trade areas that they're within their roles. So it could be APHC, ETAS, Offtech, GasSafe, IGEM, CIPHE and SIPSI. So that's the sort of content and structure of the unit. So the summary of assessments, as we've previously seen, you've got the on-screen assessment, test 1 and 2, the practical project, and the professional discussion. An assessment pack detailing requirements of the assessments will be available to download from the Skills for Wales website. And there's the link to the website there. hopefully most of you have found that by now and have been able to download this information to generate some questions and queries you may have at the end. Any queries, please let us know. Details of coverage of each assessment can be found in the assessment specifications within the assessment pack. So the summary of assessments then for the on-screen assessment, practical project and the professional discussion. There'll be 2 tests in the building services, plumbing and heating, consisting of a range of multiple choice and advanced question types. They're externally set and auto-marked. Results received by the centre will be the same day except for the initial release of new versions. The first run of tests will be moderated, which will incur a delay in results being issued. Thereafter, they will be the same day. So if it's a new test, then there'll be a delay due to moderation of the exam results. Recognition of prior achievement can be gained for test 1 when achieved progression in same trade. A practical project is a work-based task or tasks. Collaboration with employer and training provider. It will be internally marked by the centre. Provisional marks awarded following internal assessment. And the subject to external verification will be the external mark to be released. Grades are to be shared with AL EQAs for verification sampling prior to certification. Professional discussion be conducted by an external assessor, carried out in one-time session or sitting. External assessor will be occupational competent. Units covered in the professional discussion are outlined within the qualification manual. Can only take place once the learner has completed the practical project and employer confirmation has been completed. So the employer confirmation then, it's a document that's available on the Qualification Wales website. There's a copy later on in the slides which just shows you what pictorially what it looks like. I would strongly advise that you download that and have a read through it. Details are in there of how to use the guide. It provides guidance to employers and training providers on how the occupational competency statements set by the industry have been met. All mandatory sections of the employer confirmation must be completed. Employer confirmation must be completed before the point of booking the professional discussion. So again, it's one thing to make sure is done before booking the professional discussion. Otherwise, there'll be a check done on that document. If it's not completed, you can't take the professional discussion. They'll support the learner in applying for their relevant competency card if there is one for that particular trade. The qualification of the overall result is a pass, merit or distinction, depending on the grading mechanism in the assessment pack, and the qualification manual explains how to get to the grades for each of the pass, merit and distinctions. Provisional grades for the practical project will undergo internal and external quality assurance. Professional discussion, external assessor will confirm the grade, and final grading will be issued by EAL. For resubmission or resit of an assessment, where a learner fails to successfully achieve a pass grade in any of the assessments, they are permitted to resit or submit. When a learner is required to resit or resubmit any of the assessments, an appropriate feedback and support must be provided to enable the learner to do so within an appropriate time frame. So again, don't be just putting them straight back in the day after. Give them time to study the areas that they've not completed too well. If they need any further training or resources to consider, then give them that time. Guidance on the resit and resubmissions can be found in the assessment pack. So the employer confirmation guide. Employers will have an enhanced role in the delivery of the new apprenticeship qualifications in the construction and building services and engineering sector. The purpose of the employer confirmation sign-off is to provide centres and trade bodies with the assurance that the candidate is occupationally proficient and has covered a full range of relevant standards. The collection of evidence allows the centre to check that the employer confirmation is valid and that there is an audit trail to support the decision. It's available for centres and employers are instructions and requirements for completing the sign-off process within our employer confirmation guide, available on the qualification page on the Skills for Wales website. The employer confirmation guide then, employer role. Employers will work with learners throughout their apprenticeship. Apprentices will log their work they have completed in line with the national standards. And the sign-off, employers will confirm when the learner has met the required standard for the trade. This must be done by completing the employer confirmation documents. Learners can then be entered for the professional discussion to complete the qualification assessment. Work-based learning providers will work with employers to guide and support them to ensure that the quality of the apprentices log. City and Guilds and EEL will offer training to support. We will ensure work-based learning providers have suitable processes in place for this particular document. So here's a front sheet of the employer confirmation guide for plumbing and heating. In this case, there's a different one for each of the BSE sectors, one for electrical, one for heating and vent, or two for heating and vent. There's two different quals in that one at level 3. And within there explains what the employer needs to do to complete the employer confirmation guide. As you can see there, there's also a version in Welsh and a version in English. Likewise with these slides, there's a version in English and a version in Welsh that will be downloadable. All of the documents will be available in either language, should your learner wish to utilise that, or the assessor needs to utilise that. So resources. Before we move on to resources, I don't know if there's any questions been raised yet, Graham?
No, none so far. So you must be doing a really good job, Mark. Everyone seems to be happy. Just remind everybody that to ask a question, to type in a question, just go to the question box, type in, and then we'll pick it up straight away. Okay, but no questions so far, Mark.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay then, resources. So support material for resources and the prospectus. So in the Skills for Wales qualifications section, it details there all of the trades for the construction side and the building services side. And within each of the sort of titles of the quals, you'll see the breakdown for either the assessment pack, the qualification manual, or the employer guide, etc. will be in there. There's also delivery guides for the level 3 qualifications on the resource page in the Skills for Wales website. as you can see there, resources for level 3 building service engineering qualifications. So if you go in there and click on the download button, it shows you resources that are available for planning, delivery, could be schemes of work, etc. That have been pre-prepared in there. So clicking on that does actually take you to the Skills for Wales website, which I didn't mean to do. Oh. There we go. Okay, so there's an adaptable delivery planner within there, so you can type your own details and information in there. It includes level 3 units, editable spreadsheet to add, adapt as required, printable for staff classroom use, blank planners available for providers. So that's one part of the resource that's available. So the sort of reference material, Odder Education will publish free mapping documents which demonstrate how Odder Education existing publications can be used to deliver trade-specific elements. Odder would always love to hear your thoughts on their plans. We will also have our content review before publication and can share sample material in advance so that you can see how it might support the classroom teaching. If you'd like to hear or like to join the teacher team, I would like to review content for Odder Education, please be in touch with Tom Stotter, and that's Tom's email address down there. The other textbooks support the BSc qualifications. Whilst we endorse them, EL have not been involved in reviewing content contained in these textbooks. If you'd like to purchase or find out more about these textbooks, please contact Odder directly. Further support material, as I mentioned about the qualification manual, it's all downloadable. As you'll see, the qualification details, then click on that, it brings you into the plumbing and heating qualification handbook and employer confirmation guide, and the assessment packs are all in that section in the Skills for Wales website. They're just the sort of front sheets or front covers of the documents that are available in there. So next steps. If you've not already been approved, then you need to, if you're wanting to be approved, go onto the Skills for Wales Become a Centre site. As you can see on there, there's the email addresses to register your interest and complete the documentation within there. All the sections to be completed, and additional information may be requested if required. External quality assurer, EQA, subject matter expect allocated to be complete the approval. Subject matter expect allocated to complete the approval activity. Completed by EQA and shared with the centre, and on approval it'll be communicated in writing. So the approval journey then, centres can expect a decision about the approval within 30 working days of receipt of the completed application. Separate approvals must be submitted for sub-centres. Approval cannot transfer between centres. Centres do not need to invent new documentation for these qualifications. For example, IQA planners adapt what is available to suit. Now, just on IQA planning documentation, and EAL have recently released a new version of the IQA documentation and IQA guides for centres, and that's to comply with CAS requirements. However, they are documents that you can use. You don't have to use them. You can use your own or adapt them. That's fine. But what you must do is provide the required IQA documentation that's required for this particular qualification and the internal quality assurance standards. Centres may not know which assessment sites they will have following approval. This can be shared with EL once they're known. What I would advise downloading, if you've not already done so, which was released back in March, which is a centre administration guide. So it tells you what to do, how to apply, about quality insurance, external quality assurance, the assessments, etc., and general centre administration is all within that guide. And it's available on Become a Centre page on the Skills for Wales website. So training events, which you're attending one today, heating and ventilation is on the 11th of the 5th for installation, and heating and ventilation craft person is on the 11th of 5th as well. So if anybody is interested in the heating and ventilation qualification or has any potential candidates, then I would strongly advise to join that webinar as well. So questions then. What I'll do now, I'll unmute the mics so we can all feed in if you need to. So don't know if anybody's got any questions. If somebody wants to shout up just to check I've hit the right button. Any questions? Now I've got somebody. Is it Clayton? Hello, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Hi, it's Jamie from Peirianneg College. I'm just checking, people that have done the old level 2 qualification, where do they sit within the new qualification?
Doesn't, it's got to be APL'd into it.
Yeah, so is an APL document available so we can have a look at that?
I spoke to Kevin Sparrow on Friday, and that's due to be uploaded into the Smarter Touch. So if you're already a centre, it's in there, or will be in there.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
The quick one.
Yeah.
Could I just ask if you're not an approved centre yet? Is there any way to get hold of that APL document?
Now, I'll have to have a chat with our product team to see if it's going to be uploaded onto the Skills for Wales website or whether it's just an internal document, you know, relating to our qualifications. But I will check. What's your name again? Sorry.
Oh, it's Chris from Gwasanaethau College, North Wales.
Chris. If you could email myself after the meeting and then I can get a response for you. I'll give you my email address, which is mark.jones@eal.org.uk, and I'll get a response for you, Chris.
Okay, Brill, thank you.
Any other questions?
Where's Smarter Touch, please?
Pardon, Auntie, can you just repeat that? I missed the first part of your question.
Yeah, I was just wondering where can I get access to Smarter Touch, please?
You get access for Smarter Touch once you're registered with EAL as an approved centre.
Thanks.
Okay.
Hi, Mark.
Hi, Paul.
You mentioned there's the common units, 301, 302, 3, 4, 13 and 14.
Yeah.
And that's across all four, is it? The plumbing, the 2 heat and vent and the electrical.
That's right.
Is it going to be, is Harder going to make a booklet like they've made for the foundation on those units? Or is it only the content that's on that you've got on the website for that?
To be honest, I think it's at the moment it's only the content on the website. If you were interested in Odder's thoughts or whether they're producing that, I would contact that contact email address just to find out. I just don't know what Odder's producing, to be honest.
Okay, thanks.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hey, Martin.
Hiya. Just a couple of questions.
Yeah.
Have you got anything on the actual entry requirements for the apprenticeships? What sort of GCSEs they need, that type of thing?
If you look in the qualification manual, it gives you that detail in there. I think the requirements of that, they've got to be 16 plus.
Yeah, grade C's and above, is that? I think I can remember reading that.
I can't remember off the top of my head. You'd have to revert to the qualification manual, which will give you that detail.
And there is likely to be any sort of flexibility in that entry requirements?
Well, I think that's up to you as a centre to carry out your sort of entry level. You know, that they're the entry levels for the qualification. If it's any lower, then you know you could be setting the learner up to fail. It's something you've got to consider of how you can overcome that.
Okay, so the centre would make some sort of assessment then for entry.
Well, you need to sort of do it in line with the qualification manual, whatever it says in there.
Okay, another question then. In the draft document that we've seen for the apprenticeship, it talked about the incorporation in the last year of the gas training program or like a renewable energies package. Is that still there, or?
I'm not too sure. I don't know if Andrew, do you know that, or Graham?
The gas part is being worked on as we speak. Our product guy, Jason, is trying to work that, and it's currently sitting, waiting to go get approved by Qual Wales.
Okay. And it would be either or? Gas?
That's my understanding, yeah.
And then typically then that would probably add another year to the program, wouldn't it? Well,
Yes,
either one.
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. And do we see the sort of the scheme or the program as such being the first year core, second year progression, the third year with the remaining units then, and then the fourth year these sorts of add-ons, the gas training or the renewables?
That's basically how it's working with the apprenticeship route in England. So I'm assuming that Wales is going to be very similar in that sort of structure.
Yeah. Okay, that's it for me. Thanks very much.
Okay. Any other questions? From anybody?
There's none on the write-ups, Mark. So.
Okay. Okay then, everybody. As I say, those appreciate your feedback. So with the presentation that we've run today, that'll be released later on today, hopefully. There'll be a survey sent out to you, so if you can feedback on that survey, that'll be much appreciated. So if there's no further questions, I'd like to thank you for your attendance. And if you've got any further questions, then you've got these email addresses below to post any questions, and they'll get forwarded on to the appropriate people.
Where will I find the video or this meeting? Where
You'll be sent out. Yeah, you'll be sent out. All the attendees will be sent out a link.
Right, because I'm still waiting on a link to be sent out for the progression that I attended last week. Level.
Right. Okay. And what's your name? Sorry.
It's Anthony Nash. No
Anthony.
H in Anthony. No H in Anthony.
Anthony Nash.
Yeah.
Still waiting for progression. And so last week. Did you attend the electrical one on Friday at all? Were you waiting for that one as well?
No, it was just the progression last week. But,
yeah. Okay.
it only sort of started, and then I got lessons. Yeah. I need to jump back in it.
And what college are you from, Anthony?
Sneath and Talbot.
Sneath and Port Talbot. Yeah.
Oh, Mark, I believe a few of us are missing it because I didn't receive it either.
Right. So last week's attendees, I'll just send a reminder.
Again, for the progression, that was.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I'll send a reminder out to get it sent out if it's not.
Thanks very much.
Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, we need it as well.
Sorry, Gary. What was that?
We haven't had the progression sent through either.
Okay. Well, what I'll do, I'll contact the people that send the information out to say none of the attendees from last week have received it, so it should cover everybody. Okay, Gary. Anybody? Anything else? No. Okay, everybody. Thanks for your attendance. Hope it's been of some use, and catch you all later on. As I say, I'll chase up the information from last week and obviously this week to be sent out.
Hey, Mark.
Okay. Bye now, everybody. Bye.
Thanks very much. Bye.